Hey everybody, welcome back to Church Talk. We're talking about everything involving the local church. My name is Rob, and today we're going to be talking about if you are a traveling musician or band, what you can expect as you travel. All right, so we're talking about from the perspective of the traveling band or the traveling worship leader. We've done a video before where I was talking about what to expect when you bring that person in or bring that band in from the church's perspective. Today we're going to be talking about from the traveling worship leader or traveling band perspective. The first thing that you can expect if you do not have your own equipment and you are just traveling using other people's equipment, the first thing, well, let me just back up and say this. If you're just getting started, the first thing that you can expect is the wrong equipment. People will say, just like you saw on the thumbnail, yep, we got everything you need. They have everything that they need at their church. They don't know what you need as your band. Now, if you're one person, it's not so bad. If you're taking tracks and all you need is a microphone and an input for a track, usually you don't have a very big problem. But if you have a band and someone says, yeah, we've got drums, we've got amps, we've got guitars, we got whatever you need, and you get there and the drum set is... it may as well be like a first act drum set from Walmart. You know, the heads are worn, maybe the set's warped because nobody plays it and it's not kept up. And so, yes, they do have it, but it's not something that that your drummer wants to play on. The amps that they have, they haven't been turned on in years. You don't know if they're going to work or not. So you show up thinking that, yeah, they've got everything that we need, and you show up and no, they don't. There's nothing there that you can actually use, and so you try plugging in to what you can, and it's really rough because you don't have what you need. So number one, when you are invited to go somewhere, you need to ask them, and many times the person you're talking with may be the pastor of the church that is not a sound engineer, they're not a worship pastor, they're not involved in all that, and sometimes a church doesn't have a tech leader or a worship pastor that is a tech person. So sometimes you will find that the knowledge that the person that you're talking to doesn't have the knowledge to tell you what it is that they have. I've been there many different times. A pastor would ask us to come out and I'm like, hey, how many inputs do you guys have that we can use, or do we need to bring our own? And I'll tell him we're going to need, this time it's really simple. It's just going to be an acoustic guitar and 2 vocals. So I don't need 3 inputs, but we have the whole band coming. I'm going to need keyboard input and input for the guitar, for the bass. We got a drummer who's coming. So that's 7 channels right there. Then my guitar, and then we have 3 vocals that are coming. So can your system handle that? And most time when you get to that number, the answer is going to be no. Most time they'll say, yeah, we got plenty of channels. We're not even using all of them. Well, that's a red flag right there. Take your own equipment. If you can travel and take your own equipment, do that, because the equipment that you run into out in the field, so to speak, at different churches, it's not going to be what you're used to, and you're going to have to continually adapt to different things and make things work on the fly, and that's difficult to do. So purchase your own equipment. And now speakers are something that if the church has good speakers, just plug into 2 of their outputs or 2 of their inputs, preferably ones that's not even being used, and set it and forget it, and you're good to go. But all your inputs, you would have control over that. So if you can have a sound person to travel with you, and most time that's difficult to do, but if you can take your own sound, you would be better off doing that. The other thing that you can expect, and it kind of goes right along with that wrong equipment, is poor equipment. A lot of times when you're traveling to, especially in smaller churches, they may have some older equipment that has seen its better days, and the equipment's wore out. And that's why that they may have a 24 channel board and they're only using 12 channels because half the board is out. You will encounter some bad equipment, some equipment that just doesn't work because it's not being used, and they didn't even know that it's went out on them. So those are some things that you can expect. So I would say take all of your own equipment, your DI boxes, your own instruments, your own cables, your XLR cables. Churches are really bad about stepping all over cables and winding them up on their arms and having shorts in them, because they have a lot of people who have good hearts. They want to help, they want to assist, but they don't have the knowledge needed to take care of a lot of that equipment. And so cords is one of those things that I've seen them all the time. Singers are using a corded mic, and instead of it staying on the mic stand all the time, it's held, which is okay. But that cord goes down and it's wrapped and it's knotted, and it's like a 25-foot cable, but they're standing 6 feet away from the XLR input, and that's all the leeway they have because there's so much. The cord's knotted up so bad that it's only a 6-foot leash right now. I've seen that so many times in a lot of different churches. If you are traveling, take your own XLRs and take all your own equipment if at all possible. If you're just getting started, I know you may be using the equipment that the church has, but as you bring in some money, start to get your own equipment, take it with you and use it. The other thing that you can expect is a lack of space. If you're a traveling band, a lot of churches who are having you out, maybe they don't have a full band as it is, and that's why they're bringing you in. They have a special service coming up, and they would like to have a fuller band for that service. And so when you guys come, there's not enough space, and you're like crammed together. And that's something that you just have to expect and you have to work with. So as you're practicing and as you're, have a plan, and practice a time to where you can come all together and be crammed together, because there will be those times you're invited out to go to a smaller church and their platform is very small, or there's just not enough space. And you have to figure out, how are we going to work with this? Those are some things to expect as you travel, because you're going to see a lot of different types of churches, a lot of different sizes. So expect not to have a great big stage every time you go out. You're going to see a lot of smaller stages. The other thing I would say to expect, and it kind of goes with the older equipment, is the lack of channels. You're not going to have as many channels, because some churches, they don't want to move anything that they've got because they don't really have a sound guy that and he's honest about it. It's like, I don't have the knowledge that will really, I just set the volume. I just mix the volume. So we have a 24 channel board and we're only using 10 channels of it. So stay within this. Or sometimes they may say, we have a 12 channel board and we're using 8 channels. So you can have 4 channels. Well, I need 16 total. So you can expect not to have as many channels as what you're needing. The last thing on my list of what to expect is a different monitor situation. You may be used to having in-ear monitors at your home church in the place where you have been leading, and now you're going to begin to travel, and the monitors they have there may not be in-ears. Maybe they are wedges, or maybe they are one feed going up to everybody's in-ear, and they all get the same exact thing. And you can't adjust what you're needing. So you need to know that before you go. So talk to the tech or talk to somebody that knows, and be expecting a different type of monitors than you're used to. You need to be able to adapt to, if it's a wedge monitor, or if you're used to using wedges and then you go somewhere and they're using in-ears and you don't have a pair of in-ears, you're just not going to hear that day, because you can't hear without a monitor. So you're going to be behind the music and you're not going to hear things very well, and it's going to be rough on you on that day. So as you travel and as you're going different places, you need to expect that you will have to adapt. You will have to adapt to their space, their monitors, their connections, and you'll just have to adapt to a lot of different things. So, and sometimes different attitudes as well. I said that on one of the other videos about what the church can expect with teams coming in. Well, it goes back the same way with sometimes when a team comes in, you can encounter some attitudes there as well. And I'm not saying that I've encountered a bunch of attitudes. Most of my encounters have been great with as far as different attitudes and things. But you can encounter that because musicians we're different people. Sometimes we can just have a little bit of attitude to us for some reason. And so you come in and you're going to play the keyboard, and the keyboardist gets upset because you move their settings. That's natural. You're not going to play the same exact way as what they play, but you can kind of expect that. And if it doesn't happen, then you're pleased with the outcome that he wasn't upset. But if they do get upset because you move their settings, at least that's kind of what you expected. So it kind of goes back to that, expect the worst and plan, or I guess plan for the worst and expect the best, or whatever that saying is. But so yeah, if you plan, or you think that I may encounter this and you're prepared for it, then you're not taken off guard if you do encounter that attitude. Those are a few things of what you can expect when you travel. I'm going to throw one in there that I didn't have written down, is you can expect that when you travel to different places, you will not have waters to drink. A lot of different churches, they don't have waters for especially if they don't have a worship team. They don't have like a room set up that you can go and relax in or whatever. Those are things that you see on YouTube videos and TV commercials and all these large ministries that are making videos. You're seeing that because it makes for good content. In reality, most of the time, there's not a separate place for you to go hang out and chill for a little while. Most churches don't have green rooms and things of that nature. Now some do. There are some larger ministries that they've got that. But most of the time, if you're traveling, you're going to arrive on a Sunday morning, you're going to work hard, you're going to set up, and you're going to have not a whole lot of time before church starts that you can go somewhere and relax. And many times it's the pastor's office. So you're not going to have these green rooms and places that's all decked out with meat tray and drinks and all these things set out for you. But I will say that we have done that in the past. We've had bands come in and we set up our fellowship hall with food and with things for the band because we wanted to be a blessing. So there are those places where if you're a band and you go and you're going to have some stuff set up for you, but don't expect it, because when you expect it and you don't get it, then you're let down. So if you don't expect it and you get it, then you're pleased and you are thankful for it. So guys, that's my thoughts on what you can expect as a traveling musician, at least locally, regionally. And you start traveling, you start to go on tour, you start to do those type of things, then it gets a little bit different. And where we're talking about in the last video of a rider, that's where you would want to put out a rider of the things that you need, because now you're moving into that this is your job. So there are some things that you need for your job. But if you're doing this as a ministry and it's not how you make money, it's not you don't do this as a living, then those are the type of things that you're going to expect most of the time, especially when you go into a smaller church, because they're not going to have the knowledge of what you need specifically. They have the knowledge of what they have and what they need to get by, especially in these smaller churches. All right, and a bonus thought for the traveling musician is that you can expect to hear a lot of different words. And what I mean by that is a lot of different messages from different pastors. You may go into churches that don't believe like you believe, and that's okay. You may go into a church that they believe in the Lord and you guys can agree on that, but there's a lot of things, theology differences, and you will hear someone preach. And if you are a young believer, if you're a new believer and you feel called to travel with your gift, I would suggest that you don't even really tune in and listen a whole lot, but you tune in and listen to your pastor, to where you can be taught at your church. Make sure that now if you are traveling and it's your job, then really you need to bring a pastor with you, and you need to be taught and be discipled by one man of God and not multiple, because as you get multiple different words, especially if you are young in the faith and you are traveling locally, you have another job, so you're missing every single Sunday at your home church, and you're missing Wednesdays at your home church, and you're traveling all the time. Number one, I would say you need to get in your local church, have a local church, be rooted and grounded right there, be taught by your pastor. Once you get disciplined, a little bit more mature in your faith, then when you hear something that you disagree with, you can spit it out, and you can take in the meat of the word of what they're talking about. But if you're new in the faith, I would suggest that if you're traveling, I would almost take those words with a grain of salt and learn from your pastor at your home church. That way you are not getting confused with a lot of different words. Even though the places you may be really good, really solid, and you really need to listen to them, but if you listen to them and then you go somewhere else that's different and it causes confusion, then that's why I say you need to be grounded and rooted in your home church and be taught from your pastor and grow right there. So that's the bonus thought that I just thought of while I was ending the video. I thought, well, we've been there. We've been sitting there at a church, and the pastor would say something that we didn't agree with. I'm like, I don't agree there. Unfortunately for us, I mean, we were older, and we weren't young in the faith. We had matured at that point, and so we knew what we were hearing was something that we didn't place agreement with, and then we would turn and tell our kids who were with us, and they were actually looking in scripture at the time, looking over at us like, that's not what the Bible says. So they caught it as well. But just wanted to put that out there that you'll hear a lot of different words, but you need to be rooted and grounded in your home church. Guys, if this video has been a value to you, make sure that you click the like button. If you haven't subscribed, make sure that you subscribe, and head over to robandjen.com/church talk and check out some of our items, some of our new t-shirts we have available, things of that nature. If you like them, pick one up and we'll support the channel, and we'll see you guys next time on Church Talk. God bless.